Okay, thank you. Right. Well, first of all, can I wish everybody a happy St. David's Day? Um, I think we obviously planned this one well when we're talking about the River Taff. Nick, have we any apologies?
None whatsoever.
Okay, fine. In that case, we will carry on, and I'd very much like to welcome Simon Bradwick and Paul Barrett, who are going to talk to us tonight. Paul and Simon have had an interest in promoting ecotourism in the Taff Valley and across Wales. And since starting the project, they've worked to bring attention to the river by organising events, walking tours, giving talks to groups, organising participation in the big jump. I don't know what that is, I'm afraid. Organising for young people to represent the TAF at a European Youth Network for Rivers conference, where they shared their knowledge and the challenges facing their local rivers, and taking part in supporting the BBC series The River Taff with Will Milliard. So without any more ado, I will pass you over to Simon and Paul.
Thanks very much. Do you want to go
Yeah,
ahead with Simon?
I've put together a quick presentation, some images. I'll start with that, and then maybe we can sort of take questions and chat afterwards. So yeah, Paul and I started the project a few years ago now because we noticed that in comparison to other places, say cities and other towns, Cardiff and the surrounding areas didn't really celebrate the river in the same way. You don't really connect Cardiff with its river so much as you would say London and the Thames, or at least it doesn't seem that way. And there wasn't really much written about it in a positive light. Usually when you search the river, there's usually something really negative about it, or something bad has happened in it recently. So we wanted to put a positive light on the river, and so we started the project. So there's a little bit about it there. I thought I'd just run through a bit about where the river goes and some highlights of it. So it starts at Pen y Fan. This is one of the sources, and so just the right here is Story Arms. This is the start of the Taff Fechan. On the other side of Pen y Fan is Taff Mawr. So a lot of people pass it at this point, and it starts in a national park, so very green location. To the left of this part is a tributary to the Usk River, so they're sisters. This bit's quite quiet. I recommend if you do go to Pen y Fan, it's a good point to get to. Less crowds. The river then, there's a confluence near this viaduct, Kevin Coyd Viaduct in Merthyr Tydfil. Just below it is the confluence. And yeah, so straight away it's going from a very sort of green location, national park, into a post-industrial town. The river's about 40 miles long, roughly that. So it's a very short river, but in that space, it covers a lot of important post-industrial locations which link each other, which we think is a really nice story. The river doesn't, or these locations don't tend to get connected too much, and we think the river's a good way of doing that. It enters into Merthyr Tydfil, and along the way there are a lot of flood defences with the river, and it's hidden a lot. It was quite, and still is, quite a wild river, so it's been controlled a lot. So you get places like this, which there's a certain beauty to it, but it's also quite a shame that you don't get to go close to the river. This is a sign of how sort of deep it can get, really, with these big walls. This is right next to the ironworks in Merthyr Tydfil, a very important site in the Industrial Revolution. which is sort of forgotten about or not talked about very much. This is the Pontargwaith River near Abercynon. It's part of the Trevithick Trail. If you get a chance, it's a lovely cycle to do or walk. And this river is spectacular. And it's quite a green location now, but this would have been, the river would have been running black because of the waste. It was used as a sort of way to remove waste. And there's no thought about sort of keeping it clean then. There's just sort of, anyway. So the name of the river, of our project, comes from that really, and the river now is living, and there are fish even in Merthyr Tydfil. I understand that even salmon can reach quite far up now. So yeah, I quite like this photo, particularly it's quite green, and then you've got the post-industrial sort of site in between it. Trevithick, by the way, again, for those who don't know about that, it was one of the first steam-powered trains here in the valley. That went from Edge to Merthyr in the world, yeah, right. And then Pontypridd. This is quite an old photograph. So if you go there now, there's a new development here and a new bridge next to the old bridge here. And the new layout there is overlooking the river, which is a really nice change. As you can see here, on the right there's a nice inhabited park, and on the left is the High Street, Taff Street in Pontypridd. Neither of them are overlooking the river, which you would normally get. So as I said about the Thames, it's quite something that a lot of tourists go to there, mainly because of the location, the attractions there. But again, because the river wasn't something that people wanted to look at, and now having a clean river like this, it shows the benefit of that for people living locally, but also for tourism. So there's a big gap there, so there's Tongwynlais in between Toswell, but there's a big section which you can't really get to very closely. Somebody we worked with, Paul Kent, canoed, would it be canoed, down the river, and he really loved that section because it's closed and there's trees either side. So you wouldn't know that you're going through populous areas. So it's nice for that, but it is hidden away. This is Blackweir Bridge in Cardiff, which again looks a bit different at the moment. It's closed, obviously. And this is the start of the tidal river officially, because of the raised part there. So after this point, the barrage controls the level of it. And again in Cardiff, so yeah, this is a bit more open. There was a promenade here along, well, it still is, but it was promoted as that before. In Grangetown, there is, I feel like there's a connection with the river a bit more because it's so open, and the recent Greener Grangetown project has helped with that. And some of the stories we've received, and we've heard is this area that people would have been playing near the river here a lot, and quite a recent thing with the barrage. It's quite deep at this point all the time, but before people would have been, well, from right here, sort of jumping around in between the tidal times here. Quite different. And then the bay, which is now of course a lake. So yeah, it spans these and connects these different towns and places, very different areas. We launched the project in 2015 in the Pier Head. We had about 400 people coming to that, I think. It was quite popular. We were very pleased with it. And yeah, we spoke to a lot of people about what the Taff meant to them, and we heard about all these stories, but we didn't really get a chance to log them. So I'll come to that in a second. We had some event organisations there, including Living Wales and Arup, talking about greener Grange Town, which is just in front of the photo there, which yeah, it's gone very well. Around the time of this event, we also spoke to sort of on TV a bit with BBC Wales News and a company, and we started to grow a bit of a community of people that had like-minded, or were like-minded really, and we also cared about the river, and that we really enjoyed that, and it helped us to I think my connection's okay, yeah, to start some other projects really. We started some walking tours around the area, including Pontypridd and at the sources, and we started a Jazz on the Taff festival. We worked with the jazz club in Cardiff, in city there, in the city centre, and with Tav Oil. And the idea there, and hopefully we'll, after lockdown and everything, we'll start that again and have music near the river as a way to explore it, or explore it with music there. Yeah, and we worked with Will Millard on the programme that he made along the river. If you haven't seen it, whenever it shows again, I recommend it. It's a really good series. In 3 episodes, they managed to cover quite a lot about certainly the history of the river and the what it means to people now. And this photo was very early in the morning in October. We were called. We said we would take part in a sort of swim at some point, but we don't expect to be that late in the year. But it was such an amazing experience. Yeah, in Haley Park stretch there. I think it was late in the year, but a fantastic feeling of being in the middle of a city and not really, you wouldn't know it. But then, even with that, this sort of post-industrial, there's a bridge right near there, which is, sort of reminds you very, very quickly.
This isn't the Taff.
This isn't Taff, no. This is the Lake Bohyn in Slovenia and the Socha River. It's flowing through here. Yeah, so we had a really nice. Well, you mentioned the big jump. So what that was is we joined up with a network of groups and organisations across well, the world really, but particularly Europe, who were jumping into the river at the same time in July. I think it was July the 10th. It hasn't
Sunday, wasn't it? It was the second Sunday, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
First Sunday.
So,
right.
Yeah, we were the most northwest of the groups doing it. So it's a bit different with that cold river.
And the furthest southeast was Lebanon.
Yeah. So
that was pretty good.
Okay. And yeah, so with that network that we were part of, we had an opportunity to send 3 young people to this conference that they were organising in Slovenia. So they spent a few days near the lake here, coming up with a wild river manifesto. So the river here, you can, it's a very wild river. There's not really much noise from cars, not much destruction at all, and you can drink straight from the river, which is quite something that we can't do here with any rivers. And it's changing. That river's being it's threatened there. So it was a good location to have that discussion, and each group from around Europe had their own challenges and to deal with. I think the Taff is a good example of, to the world really, of a river that died, or was didn't have any life in it, but it has come back to life with support. So even when things are really bad, and that's sort of with climate change we're faced with that, it shows that you can come back, but you need to really put effort into it. The Taff is a good example as well. There hasn't been much farming on it, so even though it had a lot of waste from industry, it didn't have much sort of chemical influence. So right now it's very, it just happens to be a very clean river. Oh, yeah, particularly not hugely clean. There's still some problems with it, but it could be a very good example. So the network developed the manifesto, and they took that to the EU Commissioner in Slovenia, and they sort of drew attention to it by a flash mob in the centre of Ljubljana. And then they took that manifesto back into their areas. And I don't think the Taff is wild at any point. So even at the sources, yeah, it wouldn't look like that if it was wild. And yeah, it's very busy, and a busy road going through it. Yeah, so we've got the project we're starting at the moment is Mark Your Spot. And so the idea of this is to gather those stories that we've heard about along the way and put them into what will be a website to begin with. I think he'll be hoping to launch it this week or the next couple of weeks, into a blog style website that, as over time, we can build that into a map, so that you can hear about the river near to you, but also find out about places that you haven't been along the river. Or if you're just visiting the area, you can, yeah, it'll promote, give reason to go to the river, really, additional reason. Yeah, we're asking for submissions, really. So in 100 words, we're trying to keep the stories to that limit, but not hugely strict, but short stories about whether true or fictional, about what part of the river means most to you. As I say, initially it'll be digital, and then it'd be really nice to make that into a physical exhibition of some sort, whether we could show the stories in their location. It'd be really nice to do that. I just wanted to show, if you went to the website, that's what you'll see as the form. And what we're trying to do is add other content to the stories as well. So it could be photos, or somebody's with recording an interview with somebody soon, or somebody's recorded their story by saying it. That's quite a really nice addition, I think. So yeah, soon the website will look more like that. You need to go to the bottom and click send your story if you have one. And those are our contact details. So livingtaff.org and markerspot.org are the locations. Yeah, so that's a bit about it. I don't know, Paul, did you?
I mean, I think we've undersold ourselves. I used to work in the tourist board, and they weren't really interested in promoting the Taff. They promote the Conwy, the Wye, and all sorts of other rivers. And they also weren't interested in getting in touch with the people. You know, for the tourist board, it was like the Welsh people were hobbits in a way. You know, they were sort of strange people that you didn't really interface with. So that's something that we wanted to change as well. And I think the fact that we underestimate the history of the river. We got iconic buildings all the way up from the barrage. We got the castle, we got the Principality Stadium, we got Castercoch, Cyfarthfa Castle, we've got Pontypridd. You know, there's amazing things on the river that most rivers haven't got that history. They might have the scenery, but I mean, even the scenery we've got, it's just it hasn't been promoted very well. So I think, you know, there's loads that we can do. And I mean, we haven't looked for grants or anything. It's just something that we've done in our spare time. And so, you know, as many people as can get involved, you know, we're happy. You know, we're not the go-lighters of the river or anything. You know, we would be really pleased to meet up with as many people as possible and work with them on it, because I think it is something that can develop, and we'd like to create a network with other rivers throughout the world. As I said, we did this big jump, and because I'd worked in Beirut, I got a group to synchronize with us there. And I mean, to be fair, they haven't got much. Most of the water in Lebanon is polluted because they just don't care. But you know, there are some beautiful spots there and some lovely rivers. So you know, I'm sure there's loads we can do. You know, once we've got enough people involved, and we can make contacts. Because another river I worked on was a river in Brazil. I worked at the university there and looked at the sustainability of that river. You know, it's a river that no one's ever heard of, but it's like over 1,000 kilometers long, and they just got no idea about sustainability or keeping the rivers clean either. So, you know, I'm sure that we could get best practice and all sorts of things worked out, and it's an ideal time to do it, or you know, we've got to do it. So you know, we look forward to any suggestions that you've got. So thanks for listening to us. Speak to us, somebody.
Well, thank you very much for an interesting talk about your project. Can I ask, have you actually done anything with sort of the Taff Trail? Because there seem to be a lot of publications about the Taff Trail. There are maps which talk about the various places along there. Do you use this? Are you involved with this at all?
Well, I helped to set it up. I mean, only 50 years ago when I was with the tourist board, and you know, we mention it, but you know, we haven't done as much as we could do. As like I say, so it's a question of time and getting more people involved. You know, it would be great if somebody could liaise with them.
Okay. No, because one of the reasons why I thought of that is we have a local sort of walking group, and we walk along various bits of it. But of course, when you walk along the river, you end up walking usually along the Taff Trail or along the other side to the Taff Trail.
Right.
So yeah. Okay. Has anybody got any questions?
Could I ask you, David?
Yeah, sure.
Hi, Simon and Paul. Thank you very much for that presentation. And it's excellent to see somebody trying to help us make the most of the River Taff, one of Wales's most significant rivers. And I think a lot of what you say is right, that we haven't done enough to enjoy and appreciate it. But David there talked about walking along the Taff Trail. And one problem that we have in Radder and Morganstown is the amount of pollution that we still have in the river, mainly in terms of plastic bags and plastic refuse that then get trapped in the trees that overhang the river. And I just wondered, with your work in understanding more about the river and visiting parts of the river that we maybe don't go to. Do you have any ideas of where this is coming from? Clearly, it's coming from upriver somewhere. Have you got any sort of prime suspects, places that we could go maybe where litter isn't managed well enough, or maybe where there are some outfalls emptying water into the river with too much pollution in it?
That's a good question. And I can ask, I'm interviewing Dave King, who started the Cardiff Rivers Group. And for a time I was volunteering with them, clearing up the rivers. So he'd really know where it comes from. It's something I'd never thought about, but definitely I'll ask Dave, and you know, we should have some answers from him. That's a cracking question. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
If the quality of the water, anyway, it's not so much. It's difficult with rubbish. I'm not sure where that. So the sort of plastics that we see in there, I'm not sure about that. It could be. I don't know. I don't know. I think with chemicals though, the barrage really helped. I don't know how I feel about the barrage. It's on one hand, it's a really destructive way to treat the environment, but with that barrage in particular, it made Dŵr Cymru and the local area stop pumping water into the river in Cardiff, in the tidal area. So it made the river a lot cleaner in Cardiff as a result, because they just that lake couldn't cope with the amount of water that would otherwise, particularly in storm time, that would be going into it. But there is storm water. We spoke to Natural Resources Wales, and it was just a while ago now, but one area that they had flagged was the Cynnon River, so that's still got a bit of storm water from what we understand. But so if you're looking for a really clean place, if you went up to say Merthyr Tydfil and that area, that's a good clean stretch. Also, if you're thinking of ever swimming in it, yeah,
Yes, we put your names down.
Yeah.
We've got them all here.
Yeah. So, and not only is the river dangerous when it gets full, but there's also going to be more stormwater in it. So if it's been raining a few days ahead, don't do it. But yeah, I'm not sure about the rubbish. That would be really good to know, wouldn't it?
Because it's a big problem, because the Cardiff Rivers Group do a lot of very good work cleaning the plastic away, and then a few days later, it's back, and it's really disfiguring, especially in the stretch. You know, if you walk from Radda northwards, it's not good. It's a pity, such a pity.
Cheers.
David,
Are you attempting to form a group and with a membership?
We're open to suggestions. You know, we couldn't get enough people to show any interest before, so it was.
But if you're asking people to put things on the web, wouldn't it be useful to have them as contacts so there's feedback all the time?
Definitely. I think you need some management, otherwise you're going to get people putting anything up there. You know, you've got to have somebody, a gatekeeper, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, have we got contact, Simon?
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things we'll be encouraging with the new website, is to sign up to a newsletter as well. So it's not just be on the website there. We've got a Facebook page, the Living Taff has one. But yeah, I must be honest, I haven't done as much as I would like on that page, but still there's been a following, and we keep getting likes on it. So there is yeah. So I think with this project, it'll help us as well to it's really good content as well for something like that, you know, for those groups. Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of a group, yeah, we have that Facebook, and we've had sort of meetings before, but definitely that'd be great if that grows again. Yeah, a few things have got in the way last year or so, or last couple of years, but yeah, definitely an ambition for that.
Nick Hawkins.
Yes, interesting. You're asking for stories, and presumably you have you been primed with any? Have you got any suggestions of one or two little stories? I mean, you haven't got to read them all out, but that you might just entice us. So this is the type of thing you might like to offer.
Yeah. So I really hope the site will be up this week, if not the next one. And there's about 8 stories already, and a couple of those will have, as Paul mentioned about Dave, so there'll be hopefully an interview with that one, and then some audio and stuff. So,
Nick, you could tell them where you fell in the river.
Who fell in the river? I mean, initially we spoke to Arriva Wales about the competition, and they'd be, I forget what the prizes that Arriva Wales were giving, and we could have put the little stories up in the train and other places, but then they lost the contract, and we haven't been back in touch with, was it Transport Wales?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called now?
Transport for Wales.
Transport for Wales. But you know, that would be really nice as well if we could do competitions, short stories, and I'm sure that Welsh Water would give us prizes as well. You know, so there's loads that we can do, and if you know, it's just having enough people to work on different projects. So I mean, if you're interested in getting involved, that would be great. Honestly, we'd really appreciate it.
Would it be feasible to have to organise canoe or kayak trips along the river? Is there a navigable stretch, 5-7 miles?
I'm not sure. Paul Kent would know that, wouldn't he?
I think it'd be brilliant. Yeah, I think there's quite tricky stretches. It's quite a difficult river, but yeah, Paul Kent has, isn't he, the whole way, I think. But you'd need, yeah, if you know what you're doing.
Any suggestions, and anyone that can help us, that would be fantastic. And the lady on the tropical island as well.
Have you done any work with any of the primary schools? Because if you work with them, usually you get the younger children interested. I saw all the pictures you were showing were perhaps older children, and then they sort of makes things much more sustainable for the future.
Well, it's different. We did contact a few schools, and then like no one knew who we were. We were men. I'm of a certain age. He's younger, but so. If we could get contacts there as well, that would be good. And with, you know, we've got 2 or 3 universities on the river as well. You know, you've got Cardiff University, Cardiff Met, what's the one up in Pontypridd, you know, so, and there's the college, Coleg y Cymoedd, and so, you know, there's plenty of and schools, you know, and, you know, I'd like to do bilingual stuff as well. So it would be, you know, there's so much scope. It's just having been the 2 of us, it's been difficult. So, you know, like I say, if anyone would like to, and it's not going to take a lot of work either, is it, Simon?
I think that's been one of our things, really, is that there's so many things you could do. It's difficult to get going. So we've done a few, as I mentioned, a few different projects which have taken, you know, a lot of time to do. I think with this project, it'll mark your spot. It'll be a real good focus for us and for the people helping us, and that then will make lots of content. I think from those stories we can make resources for schools. We could go from there. I think, but that'll be the central. For the moment, anyway, thing. The youth network really like to get going again. That was a really good, yeah, that trip we did, and the links we made from that, and that they made from that, individuals as well. That'd be really nice to grow on that, to build on it. Yeah, it got a bit tricky to keep the European projects going, but I think now, you know, that's those two things I think would be really good. Yeah, as Paul mentioned, the amount of time available on volunteering, we've got to be realistic, and I think, yeah, those short stories, and if the best way to help, I think, is by contributing to that or helping us with that.
Well, Simon, can you tell us how we contact you to send you material?
Yeah, so if you go to markyourspot.org, there's a page there about the project and a form to submit your story, and then we'll get in touch after then. Otherwise, an email address is contact@livingtaff.org.
Sorry, contact@livingtaff.org.
We'll make sure that all of those addresses go on the RMA website after this session, so that it's easy for you to look up the project and to get in touch with them. And Simon and Paul, you've mentioned that you're hoping to have these stories bilingually. We've got quite a few Welsh speakers on this call, so stories in the language of your preference.
That's right. Great.
Yeah. Okay.
And photography for those that are interested in. I've got good shots of the Taff and are willing to share them with the project. Great. Either to accompany a story you're submitting, or to go with someone else's. If you can partner up with someone else who's got a good story and provide the image to go with it. I think that's one of the other things that we're seeking from you. So the reason Simon and Paul coming tonight is all my fault. It's me that's dragged them along tonight, and I've done this because really I want your help. I want the people of Rhadder and Morganstown to help get Rhadder and Morganstown on Simon's map. I want to make sure that the stories of the Living Taff are told, and that we are not lacking these stories. Whether you know some of the history of the Taff, something that has happened in Rhadder and Morganstown over time on the Taff. If the Taff is a special place to you now, or has been special through lockdown, I really want to make sure that we are sharing our 100-word stories, sharing our photos of the Taff, and stopping it being that bit that Simon just jumps past when you go from Pontypridd to Blackweir. We've got a really important part of the Taff that we need to make sure that we are taking responsibility for, whether it's for Hughes clearing the rubbish, or just in telling our story of what has happened over time along the course of the river. I want to make sure that our part of the Taff is being looked after in every way that we can. And so that's my plea to everyone on this call this evening, to help us to do what we can to take our responsibility for the Taff itself, but also for sharing the story of the Taff, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any questions? I'm flicking through, I can't see anybody. No? Okay, well, could I then thank Simon and Paul very much for their interesting talk tonight. I think it's given people a lot of food for thought. Certainly the Taff Trail has been very well used in lockdown. I must admit, so well that a lot of people now don't actually go along the piece around here, just because it has been so crowded. But I guess it's going to get back to normal reasonably soon, and I just hope you manage to get a lot of information from people after this talk tonight. So thank you both very much. I think Ian will have a little bottle for you, which he'll pass over at some time, and well, he might pass over, put it that way. So thank you both very much. Thank you
very much. Look forward to meeting you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're welcome to stay if you want. We're going to carry on with the rest of our meeting, but there's no, compulsion to do so.
I'll leave now. My wife is shouting at me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will carry on with the rest of the meeting. The first item was the minutes of the last meeting. If you remember last time, we had a very interesting talk by Simon Smell about epidemics, public health and COVID, and the feedback I had after that was really good, and I think people found that very interesting. We had a treasurer's report, but we're going to have another one tonight, and a bit of information about the festival. We reported that we'd purchased a professional Zoom license, and quite a few groups are now using this, and I think that seems to also to have gone down very well. We're going to be talking about planning. There are a number of planning applications, and different people wanted to talk about them, and they're also coming up on the agenda. But I couldn't see anything else unless anyone else has got anything on the previous agenda. We will move on. Okay, the next item is Treasurer's Report. David Cargill.
The accounts for the year ending 31st of December 2020 will be presented at the AGM next month. However, the balance at the bank at the end of December was 8,173. This was £1,487 better than the previous year. And that was largely due to the grants that we received during the year towards the 2020 festival that didn't take place. Since the year end, we've paid out £338 and we've received £706 in grants and a couple of subs, making the balance at the current date of £8,541. And that's quite a reasonable sum of money to go into this year towards our festival events in May and in September.
Okay, any questions for David? Okay, thank you. I know David mentioned festivals, and I'm just going to briefly talk about the festivals. As we said last time, we've actually planned 2 festivals for this year. A mini festival in May between the 1st and the 9th, and then a longer festival in September. On the first festival is where we've been doing most of the work up until now. We're obviously in a situation where we're not going to get many, if any, outside events. So we're planning a series of talks, online events, and some competitions. At the moment, now this could well change. We're still looking at this, but we're hoping to have a talk on some form of wine tasting or wines from Saverio Florimonte from Cicchetti. We're also looking to set up a cookery demonstration online. So there will be somebody who will, I'm guessing, will probably be from their own home. We had cookery certainly events in the festival when we've done it in the old church rooms. I'm guessing this is going to be somebody doing it, and it will be on Zoom from their own home. We're going to have a 10 of us quiz online, and again, I know there will be information coming out about this, but Nick and Roseanne will be looking for people to get together, to get teams of up to 8 as we've had before, and this will be on Thursday the 6th of May, and there will be more details about that coming. One event that we might be able to do, and we're still looking at, is an idea to have bingo online. And this is something else we're looking at. Again, it's not certain, but we're hoping we might be able to do it. We're going to have another family treasure trail, and this should be on the sort of weekend, probably of the 8th and 9th. And there will be clues, and the idea will be that families will be able to go round as a group looking for various clues, and of course there will be prizes in that. And something that depends very much on the COVID restrictions in time is that we would very much like to do an open gardens, and May seems to be a very good time to do this. However, it does depend on restrictions that are around at the time, and we should have a better idea probably by Friday week if things like that could be done. because it is outdoors, and it depends how many people can get together outdoors. Obviously it can be controlled, numbers can be controlled, social distancing can be done, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens about that. And then we're looking at some competitions. There's going to be a photographic competition where the theme's going to be animals in Rotherham Morganstown, so it could be pets, wild animals, birds, really anything. And there will be 3 age categories for that: under 10s, 11 to 18s, and adults. And then we're going to have the normal festival colouring and drawing competition with the primary school age children, and that will be done in May, because that fits in much better with the curriculum in May. So at the moment, they're the sorts of things we're looking at. We are looking at 1 or 2 other things as well, but they're probably not certain at this stage. We've also started to look at a festival in September, and again we're hopeful that we could go back to having very much the sort of normal outside events we have. We would love to have the concert in the park. We'd very much like to have a fete. And one thing this year we're looking at, and again it's something that was done some time ago but hasn't been done for a long time, is some sort of produce and craft show. And we'd certainly be trying to find some other people who we can talk to help with this. But that is something that we would be keen to do. So if everybody or anybody like myself grows vegetables, that's the sort of thing we'd be looking at. I'm not sure of the categories, but we can warn people now that they should be preparing for that, because it does take a long time to grow some of the vegetables. So that's just a warning on that one. So that will be between the 11th and the 25th. As we said to you before, 10 of us are going to be our charity still, and they're going to carry on until the end of the festival, and at that stage Headway will take over, who will be the charity for next year. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. There will be something going into Radchain where hopefully it will be a little bit more up to date, and perhaps it will be a bit firmer than what I've said tonight. Okay, Ian, May election hustings.
Yes, so the RMA are holding a hustings ahead of the Senedd elections on the 6th of May. We will be holding a meeting on he checks his diary quickly, 19th, Monday the 19th of April. We are in the process of inviting one representative from each political party standing in the Senedd elections, be that for either the constituency or the region. Those invites have started to go out to the candidates for the election. So we're now inviting you to come along. We're also inviting you to pose your questions to the panel. We're asking for question submissions to come in advance to the email address hustings@rada.org.uk. That's hustings@rada.org.uk. Another one for Nick to write down and make sure we all get a copy of afterwards. We want your questions in advance, because to make the hustings fair, we're going to make sure that we ask all of the candidates the same series of questions, just in a slightly different order, so that we can hear from each party standing in the Senedd election, and hopefully use that opportunity to help you form your views on who you wish to vote for. So that is the hustings event. I also need to take this opportunity to remind those who wish to seek a postal vote for the Senedd election. If you are a shielder or someone who is concerned about going out to the polling station on the 6th of May, that the postal vote deadline is looming. So do please get your form signed and off to the council elections office to make sure that you get a postal vote if that is the way you choose to vote. You can of course vote in person at a polling station, with a proxy, or by post. All 3 options are available to those who are registered. Of course, how could I forget the most important one? Make sure you are registered to vote at your address, otherwise you won't get a vote at all.
Right, the next item on the agenda is planning. If you remember, at the last meeting there was a short piece of information about the the LDP. Since then, there are several sort of planning applications that are of real interest to members. But if we could pick up first of all, perhaps on the LDP, Nick, are you going to talk about that?
Yeah, I'll be very brief because the last meeting was only a month ago. We're holding these meetings very rapidly at the moment. And just simply to say that we have been more formally in contact with the North West Cardiff group. We've suggested ways to them that we might work together to support and enhance their work. We're awaiting a response on that. They're talking amongst themselves. And basically, we're formulating our plans. We've had a couple of people who put their names forward to us to assist in what we're doing. And if anybody is more interested in that, then please get in contact with us. And we will report further at the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions for Nick? Right. The next one then we'll talk about is the big bridge over the railway line in Morganstown. Yeah.
Yeah. So the big bridge has been left to me because I'm trying to pull together a small working group to look at planning applications as they come through on behalf of the RMA. It's a role that the RMA has previously had, and we are trying to actively resurrect to look at planning applications relevant to Mount Radra and Morganstown as they come through. In particular, at the moment, we are trying to look at the standing application for the bridge over the railway line that has come through from Transport for Wales. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anyone that the exec committee on your behalf feel it warrants an objection on a couple of grounds, the size and scale not perhaps being quite suited, and the fact that it's come through as a singular application, so it doesn't deal with the rights of way issues that putting that bridge in, but not dealing with the footpath a few hundred yards down the line from it at the same time. So we are in the process of formulating that response. I do have a couple of volunteers already from our membership to join Nick and I on that little working group. But if anyone else would like to help us in formulating that formal response, we would be very grateful.
I think we should add that the date for response on that is the 11th of March.
Yeah. So if any individual obviously wants to put something in themselves, you still have got a week and a half to do so.
Yes, and I should probably mention we're encouraging individuals who have an objection. The way that the planning system works, it's great for us to put something in collectively on our behalves, but that is always helped by individuals submitting individual responses. I should also mention that on the RMA pages of the website, we have created a new little planning subsection so that we can highlight these particular applications as they come through and our proposed responses to them as we draft them. So that's worth a look to see where we're at with the various planning and building schemes that are underway at the moment.
Okay.
Chair, could I just mention that the Community Council has submitted its response to the planning application for the bridge, and we've objected to the bridge again for the same reasons that Ian mentioned there, that the size of it and its impact on the environment. We suggest that the Transport for Wales look again at an option that they have looked at, which would be to have access to Glennis Farm along Iron Bridge Road from the other side of the river. We've also asked that whatever happens, there must be proper mitigation for the environment, care of the environment and restoration of the environment. And we've also asked that the lane that runs from Tynant Road past Primrose Cottage to Glennis Farm should not be used by any Transport for Wales traffic, whether it be lorries delivering goods or staff arriving and leaving. So that objection went in, I think it was last week.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, Helen and Alan wanted to talk about another application. I'm not sure who's doing it now.
I'm doing it now, and I'm not really up to speed. So I just wanted to draw people's attention to the fact that another application has gone in for a development at the bottom end of the woodland. It's technically in Danes Court. It's at the back of De Breos Court and into Radecourt Road. Neither of those roads are particularly traffic friendly. The Radecourt Road floods regularly when the river is very high, but it does mean we will lose another section of woodland, which is going to be a disadvantage to us, as we were talking about the Taff and movement along the Taff. We have successfully objected to this plan at least once, and I think on 2 occasions. They have now reduced the number of houses they're planning to build there from something in the 40s to 36, but we still feel that it's a loss of amenity for the community. So I think you're going to put up the actual application on the website, are you not, Ian? And the people can get the address to send their objections to.
Yeah.
And the expiry date of that one is the 15th of March, by the way.
Chair, could I just mention that, again, the Community Council will be objecting to this, and I think our objection went in today, and I'd like to thank Helen and others on the Community Council for the excellent work that they've done in pointing us to the right issues to raise as part of that objection. Thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank
Chair,
you.
the big thank you very much, Alan, for making all the relevant points. It is used by that particular piece of woodland is the link from Rada Woods right down to Radecourt Road. The children play there in the woods a lot during lockdown. It was really heavily used just from people from Danes Court, just getting out in the fresh air. The important thing, and it's the one that you stressed earlier on, I think Ian did, the more objections that go in, the better. So if people could take the time to send in an objection, we'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Helen. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think we haven't done it for some time, but we're picking up on planning, because if we raise these issues, it does give individuals the information, and individuals a chance to actually send in any objections if they have them. And we certainly know that with the council, they do tend to look at the weight of objections and numbers of objections. And this will give people at least some information to know what planning applications are going in.
And
Okay.
the other thing, David, is that the group in Danes Court have got a petition, and people are very welcome to sign that. I'll try and get you the link for the petition tomorrow, and then you can maybe put that one on the web if people feel they wish to sign the petition.
Okay, is that the non-political one or a political one? There have been a few. Okay, no, I know there was one to do with Woingron, but that seemed to be coming from a political party, which we obviously won't support. If this is an individual one, that's fine. Yeah.
I had no idea that there was any political intent behind this.
No, there may not be. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If we can, should we carry on then? Any other business?
Did you want to mention Woingron?
I don't know. It's up to David, really. David Cargill. You're muted, David.
Yeah. Well, I tried to contact the First Minister and our MP, Kevin Brennan, regarding this issue of Woingron Road being reopened as a recycling centre. There is quite a lot of feeling in Cardiff West. Unfortunately, I've not had a reply from the First Minister or from Kevin Brennan as to whether they would represent us. But there we are. I put my protest in, but I don't know whether anyone else is interested.
Just to explain the background to that, the proposal.
Well, the proposal was to build a bus centre and block of flats.
It's a 7-storey building
because the land is contaminated, and the cost of cleaning the land apparently is quite expensive. Perhaps Rod would know more about it.
Well, if I just explain, there's been a pre-planning consultation and it's for a 7-storey building with 50 flats, bus hub and shops. And the pre-planning consultation, so it's not a planning application, expired on the 26th of February. So it's just a matter of telling this is, but the feeling is that David's expressing is the ground is contaminated, and actually it'd be far better if it actually went back to being a recycling place.
But it was a first-class recycling centre.
There is an ongoing petition against it, as David says, but it's somewhat politically orientated.
And it's closed. Rod, did you want to say something?
Well, it's very improbable that the First Minister and Kevin Brennan are going to come out very firmly against it, because for the last 3 years, there have been innumerable objections to Wandrawn Road being closed and numerous suggestions it should be reopened. And it's an article of faith with the Cabinet, who are of the same political persuasion as Kevin and Mark, and I just don't think it's going to happen. There is a very detailed letter of objection, which I can circulate, produced by someone who's in my party, but it's going to devolve along party lines. And I think the chances of that being used as a recycling centre are next to nil. It's a pity, because actually it was quite a good recycling centre, and the only reason they closed it is that the people who were in charge of it did not properly educate those who were using it. The result was that stuff which was being produced by that recycling centre could not be recycled without being subject to a post-recycling sort, and it was costing £160 a tonne. Now, the sensible thing to do would be to have told the workforce to spend less time in the tea room and more time out speaking to the people, because it was really quite ludicrous that people who are sufficiently civically aware to drive to a recycling centre would not respond if they were told exactly where to put the stuff and how not to contaminate it. But that's why it was closed in the first place, and I wouldn't bet very heavily on it reopening. On the subject of planning in general, no one can ever dispute the possibility that a plethora of applications and objections will sway the planning committee. But it is quite clear that in planning law, they're supposed to be swayed entirely by the argument and not by the volume. They don't weigh the opposition, they assess it. And the fact of the matter is that it's not easy to get the chance to speak at planning committee, and having 5 different people seeking to represent this community is a pretty good reason for assuming that none of them will get to the planning committee. I will, because I have the statutory rights to do so, and I will continue to do so. I have objected to the bridge application. I have attempted to ensure that the license to occupy the Mound Field does not hit the community adversely, but it does give a range of legacy benefits to those who are being displaced. The other application I have supported twice when it's been rejected, and I will support the objections once again. The really big looming problem, which will test your volunteers to the utmost, will be dealing with the local development plan and dealing with Accolade. Now, Redrow are continuing to flood lots of properties of people living in Place d'Or and Park Radier. The play area continues to cascade water down onto the tennis club. There is no evidence whatsoever that the drainage system they intend placing above houses on Hale Easthaf, serving parts of the new estate. There's no evidence whatsoever to suggest that it's going to do the job in the manner prescribed, but yet they're continuing to build and they're continuing to get away with things. Today, they are grubbing out a hedge all the way along Hale Easthaf. I pointed out to them they shouldn't be doing this, given that the bird nesting season starts on the 1st of March. And they made a very intelligent response to that. They said, we're putting in an ecologist to assess what we do, and they got on with doing it today. Now, dealing with Redrow is not a matter of picking up one small issue and sending one small letter. You're dealing with quite often an application which has got 100 or 200 attachments, some of them 100 pages. when you start getting involved in the local development plan, you should take account of the fact this will go on until 2024. I was heavily involved in the last one. And when I emptied my office at County Hall of all the stuff that had to do with local development plan, I filled 3 black bags with the paper. So that's what you're going to have to get down to doing, working through a tremendous amount of detail and then arguing it and being prepared to turn up at City Hall when they have 28 all day long sittings to discuss it. And it's all very well glibly saying, we will sort it out tonight. But the reality is this is a long haul and needs a lot of people working on it.
Thank you.
David, can I come in there? Rod has mentioned it. Can the RMA send a letter of protest to Redrow that they should start grubbing out hedges on the first day that they are no longer allowed to do so? I think a protest at least should be made.
Look, I agree with that. I protested when it was still February, but they just went ahead and did it. I raised it with the planning enforcement team, but all that did was encourage Redrow, I think, to press on with it before the planning people get around to see it and see what they've done. But it's bad behaviour, very bad behaviour. And protesting would be a good thing to do.
Okay. Is that something people would like us to do? Yeah? Okay, I seem to get everybody nodded. Okay, we will send a letter of protest in. Thank you. Right. Any other business? I think there were a couple of things that have been mentioned. Census, I think, and Ian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's me. So just a reminder to everybody that the census is coming, and Census Day is Sunday the 21st of March. So Sunday the 21st of March is Census Day. Key thing to do is to make sure that you don't throw away the census information pack when it comes to you through the post. It is not spam. I know we're getting a lot of nuisance mail through, or certainly through my own letterbox at the moment. Do look out for the bright purple census information pack that comes through. That will have the unique code that will allow you to log onto the website and complete your census return on Sunday the 21st of March. There is also help available if you are. The website, I've been assured, is very simple and straightforward to complete the census, but there is also help available from some local groups and local representatives if you do struggle to fill in the census. So do seek out some help if you feel you need any. Do help and encourage your neighbours if you are able to complete their censuses. Rada did a fabulous job with helping one another at the start of lockdown. If you have neighbours who may need some support to do things online, please do reach out and offer to assist them in completing their census returns.
Okay, thank you. And bins? I'm not sure what this was about.
Bins. So this is because we haven't had a meeting since bin day changed to a Tuesday, and I'm sure you all got it right last week, and you've all already put your bins out tonight, ready for collection tomorrow. It is black bins for the first time on a Tuesday tomorrow, just in case anybody hadn't noticed already. And we've also now had confirmation from the council of our first green bin collection. That's the restarting of the garden waste, which will be Tuesday the 23rd of March. So that's our first green bin garden waste collection. I know mine is almost full now, having been out trimming the hydrangeas over the weekend. They can go out on Tuesday the 23rd of March.
Okay, thank you. Good. I don't know if Rod, if you could tell us, did it actually go fairly well last Tuesday?
It didn't go entirely well, but they got round to it the next day and finished it. It's quite an adventure because the problems they had over Christmas were twofold. Firstly, there was a lot of absenteeism, and secondly, the level of waste which came out was vastly in excess of what was expected. Now, this time around, they are suffering still from absenteeism, but they've rescheduled all the routes. So inevitably, there are a lot of funny little bits which the teams don't know about. So it's going to be a bit of a learning curve, but they have got a team of inspectors responding to problems. And if people tell me about any problems, I will ensure that the inspector goes to see them, deals with the missed collection, and then puts education in place to prevent it recurring. But they do need to be told about things that are going wrong, and it will be put right. And I confirm, well, I was only told, Ian, that the collections are starting on the 23rd of March. That is the case.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Rod. Has anybody got anything else? Nick?
Extraordinary. I haven't briefed the team on this, but on behalf of the RMA, I think what we'd like to do is to congratulate David Southers on his 90th birthday tomorrow. He's served the community for many, many years. He's still a community councillor, of course, and he's still going strong after 90 years.
Okay. I don't think he's here tonight, Nick.
I know he's not, no, but I'll be dropping a card into him tomorrow morning.
Okay, if you could do that, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, well, if nobody's got anything else, just like to thank you all for coming along tonight. Our next meeting is on the 12th of April, which will be our AGM, and that will also be on Zoom. So thank you all for coming tonight. Nick,
David,
yeah.
You're forgetting that we have agreed to offer Transport for Wales an opportunity to give an update on the 24th of March. Remember that?
Okay.
So the next meeting, there will be a sort of an open meeting which we're running. We did give Transport for Wales the opportunity to address us at a previous meeting. They've come back and they said that before they start work, they'd like to have the opportunity of telling all our members about what they're doing, and that has been set for the 24th of March. I think that is that a Wednesday? I think I forget now.
It's Wednesday, Nick. Yeah.
It is Wednesday, definitely Wednesday the 24th of March, and that will be on Zoom. And that, as David said, will then be followed by our AGM on the 12th of April. And of course, we would love to have people putting their names forward to join the executive. I think David has mentioned elsewhere that we would love to have some younger people. We'd love to have some females on our executive as well. So anybody who feels that we're not doing the right thing or would like to give us new ideas, then please get in touch if you want to find any more information, or just simply say you'd like to join us.
Okay, thank you all very much, and hopefully then we'll see you on the 24th of March. Thank you.